Hello, welcome back to Aromatherapy. So we're going to start with the essential oils now, and there's quite a few. So I always put this disclaimer up to please seek professional medical advice when using oils for medical conditions, medication, or any holistic treatments other than aromatherapy. The contractions can be pretty bad, and oils are very volatile, so please always check with your doctor. Now, looking at essential oils, there's a lot of products out there, bubble bath, shower gel, shampoo, etc. All this. Now, people use them every day and they're like, well, that says essential oils. Yeah, you're right, it does have essential oils in it. However, this is usually the cast off, it's the byproduct of the pure oil. Because it's the byproduct of the pure oil, yes, they can say it's essential oil. But usually it's 2 grams of oil in a litre, and it's very much, it's very much with spring water. It's very, very watered down. It's in a way, it's not therapeutic, so it probably wouldn't affect you in the same way as using the proper oil. Regardless, they can still say that it is pure essential oil because it is still a byproduct of the pure oil. But remember, it's extremely gentle and very, very watered down, so it is not the same. And a lot of people actually don't know that. So we have notes. The reason they're called notes, we'll go into that much later because I'll tell you some interesting facts, but this will be on another lesson, is because they were taken from musical notes, believe it or not. The 3 notes is a way of balancing out a mixture. The top note is the quickest oil to work through the system. It's a very light oil. It's usually quite citrusy. Most of them are the citrus type fruits that you'll find at the top note, but they can be quite potent still. But remember, they work very quickly through the system and into the system and back out. The middle note is exactly that. It's a neutral. So, it's one of those where it just balances everything. And the base note is very strong and it's very thick. And usually you'll find these are the resins. And these are the ones that tend to stay in the system the longest because it takes them longer to work through the system. However, generally speaking, you could do 1 drop a top note, 1 drop a middle note, 1 drop a base note to start with 30 mils of carrier is a very, very safe option to start with. The first of our oils is French basil, Ocimum, basilicum, which is very strange, I know, but there's a lot that's done this way now. Only 1 drop to 30 ml of carrier oil should be used with basil because it's extremely potent. Definitely to avoid in epilepsy clients and blood clotting conditions and no in pregnancy. It's extremely potent. So it's catholic and it's useful for mental fatigue and poor memory. It's antiseptic, useful for insect bites, cuts, wounds and spots. It's a digestive, so it helps indigestion problems, flatulence and nausea. And it's a febrifuge, so it's useful for fevers. And it's a top note. These are the rest of French basil, of course. It's an emmenagogue, useful for irregular periods. Antibacterial, cold, flu, chest infections, skin infections, cystitis. It's also an antidepressant, so it is useful for depressive orders and depression. It's a hormone balancer, so it can help problem periods. It imitates estrogen. It's a neurotonic for anxiety, insomnia, stress-related problems. It's antispasmodic, so it can be used for period pain, irritable bowel syndrome, cramps, hiccups, and asthma. So the next oil may cause sensitization and drowsiness, so be very careful with it. And it's benzoin, styrax benzoin. It's a base note because it's a resin. As you can see, it's antiseptic. Vulnerary, which is for cuts and ulcers. Diuretic, which is water retention cellulite, things, cystitis. Circulation stimulant, so that's your blood circulation and your lymphatic circulation. Anti-inflammatory, bronchitis, arthritis, rheumatism, gout, swelling and chapped skin. It's a neurotonic. It's also sedative, so it's very good for restlessness or stress-related conditions like anxiety. It's an expectorant, which is useful for colds, flus, catarrh, coughs and asthma. This is phototoxic, which remember I said is when the heat is applied to the skin after having it on the skin, it can burn. Any type of heat, hot bath, sun, just any type of heat is to be avoided for the first 24 hours. And it's a top note. It's a diuretic, which is fluid retention and cellulite. Now it can irritate the skin, but you can get a bergamot-free bergamot, which will not affect the skin at all. It doesn't change the oil, but it's better to go for that. A neurotonic, an insect repellent, digestive, it's antiviral, antiseptic. It's aperitif, so it's useful as an appetite stimulant for someone who has problems with their appetite. It's uplifting and calming, useful for premenstrual syndrome, insomnia, psoriasis, stress-related problems and anxiety. It has the ability to bring uplifting effects as well as relax, depending on the mixture and the use. Leaves are used to flavour Earl Grey tea, and the fruit itself is not edible because the pulp is too sour. Now, bergamot's named after a town, Bergamo, in Italy, where it was first sold. Black pepper. This should be avoided in pregnancy and with any homeopathic remedy, and like I say, it's always best to check with your doctor anyway. Diuretic, antitoxic, which is good to relieve food poisoning. It's warming, so that is the circulation. It's aperitif, so it's good for appetite. It's a calmative, it's good on the digestive system. It's a rubefacient, muscular aches, poor circulation, rheumatism, arthritis, chilblains, bruises and chills in general. The expectorant means it's good for chronic bronchitis, colds, flu, coughs and catarrh. It's analgesic, so it's very good for muscular aches, stiffness, toothache. That does not mean take it orally, please do not. Headaches, just general sort of aches and pains. Never take oils orally. So black pepper, which obviously avoiding pregnancy, irritation can happen, and don't use with any other remedies, seek your doctor's advice. So it's been around and used in India for over 4,000 years. So the Romans prized black pepper so much their taxes were often paid with it. I found that quite interesting. Kajaput, Melaleuca Kajiputi, which is a funny name. Now, this is a 1%, I would say, so it's a 1 drop to 30 mils, as it may irritate, so better to have it diluted very well. And as you can see, it's an insecticide, so it will kill fleas, lice, etc. It's an antispasmodic, so asthma, muscular aches, colic, IBS, and period pain. Febrifuge, which is for fevers. Antibacterial and antiseptic, so that's your colds, your flu, your spots, sinuses, infections, acne, bronchitis, laryngitis, insect bites, cystitis, and it's got astringent properties that will aid greasy skin or oily skin and tighten the skin too. It's an expectorant as well and an analgesic. Kajaput, it's named after the Malaysian word Kaju Putih, meaning white tree. It was traditionally used by Aborigines for its antiseptic analgesic properties. Your cedarwood atlas, Cedrus atlantica, base note. It's a circular stimulant, insecticide and repellent, antibacterial and antiseptic. It's very good for your skin as well. If you have oily or greasy skin, it'll take the excess away. It's an antifungal for athlete's foot and fungal conditions. Expectorant, and it's a sedative, and it's good for hyperactivity, tension, stress and anxiety. Carrot seed, which is Daucus carota, and it's a middle note. Definitely avoid it in pregnancy, but like I say, it's always best to seek doctor's advice anyway. It's a diuretic, which is good for water retention and cellulite. Now it's an immuno, which it stimulates and boosts the immune system and cell regeneration for the skin. It's a tonic and detoxer, so it's useful for liver and gallbladder. It's an emmenagogue for regular or lack of periods. It's a calmative, which is useful for digestive problems, because most digestive problems actually do come from stress or tension. Chamomile, this is German chamomile, middle note. Matricaria recutaita, it's anti-allergy, obviously, so it's good for allergies and sensitive skin. It's a vulnerary, burns and cuts and wounds. It's analgesic, so it's very good for earache, toothache, neuralgia, migraine and muscular pains. It's also calming and an antidepressant, so any stress-related issues, anxiety, insomnia. Antispasmodic, so it helps cramps and diarrhea. There's various chamomiles, by the way, so it's believed to have liver regeneration properties as well, and it's an anti-inflammatory, so it's very good for eczema and acne, abscesses, like wounds with swellings and things, dermatitis, general aches. The flowers smell like apples, and Roman chamomile is actually about the same, but the Roman chamomile is used more so in children. Now, clary sage is Salvia salica. It's a 1%. It's a 1 drop to 30 ml of carrier oil. Never ever overdo it, because it's one of those oils that has been known to cause a few issues. If you go look at Tisserand's book, you'll see only 1 drop to 30 ml of carrier oil. Avoid with alcohol intake and pregnancy, and it's a sedative and it can cause headaches. It's an aphrodisiac, an antiseptic, hypotensive, which is useful for high blood pressure. It's an emmenagogue. It's antisporic, which is useful for spots, acne, oily hair and skin. This is one of those oils that you would not use on someone unless you had the doctor's consent. And here we have the rest of it. It's a very good antidepressant for postnatal, but do not use in breastfeeding, obviously. Antispasmodic, it can be used as a top or a middle note. It's digestive, it's useful for IBS or any digestive problems. It's a relaxant with sedative properties, and it's a hormone balancer. It's also believed to be good for alopecia, or at least to encourage hair growth. Clove oil. Syzygium aromaticum is a base oil. 1 drop only in 30 ml of carrier oil, as it can irritate, but it is an insect repellent, antibacterial and analgesic. Antispasmodic and anti-inflammatory. Cypress. This is the cypress oil. Cupressus sempervirens, But this oil I'm allergic to, so I don't touch, but yeah. So it's a deodorant, a neurotonic, and a sedative, diuretic, an antiseptic, and the hemostatic, which is for cuts, bruising, and nosebleeds. It's also an insect repellent. It's antispasmodic, a neurotonic with sedative effects, and then astringent that is good for varicose veins, broken capillaries, hemorrhoids, water retention, incontinence, poor circulation, and oily skin. So obviously there's a lot more oils to go through. In the next lesson I'm going to do it chart wise, so you may want to be ready to either screenshot the chart or be able to make your own chart, and I'll show you how to chart so that you can look at an oil and know exactly what it's good for, etc. There's a particular way of doing it which makes it slightly easier. And that is the end of the first lot of, obviously, essential oils. Do you remember though, always start really with 1 drop of each, I think personally, just to be safe. And on any medication, or if you have any health problems, you really do need to be seeking your doctor's advice first, because you would not believe the reactions that it can cause. And some of the oils are not as safe as, initially first thought when they first came out. They're really not. And always be careful when you're buying books, because you will buy books. I have them myself, and it'll, 10 drops of this, 7 drops of that. Don't ever, ever, ever do that, please. I'm not sure why these books are out there so readily available to make mixtures like that, because it's dangerous. And it baffles me. It really does. So yeah, just stay safe with your oils and always seek advice from your doctor where needed. Thank you for watching. Next time we'll go into more oils, but I'll show you how to put them into a chart so it's easy to recognise what they're useful for. Blessings.